the masculinity sense of stoicism really is looking deeper. It's like, how can we improve this? How can we be better? It's not necessarily being perfect, it's pursuing perfection in a way that you have full control of and something that has a good outcome, and you've thought about every avenue that you could possibly go and made the right decision. Or even if it's not a right decision, you made the decision right later. What would you recommend they go to start or at least learn and get some takeaways?
The big guy in Stoicism is Marcus Aurelius, but that can be kind of difficult to digest. Me personally, I looked into Stoicism by just looking into philosophy websites and learning from different people who break it down. Like this one, for example, there's this talk about Stoicism and arousal. What Stoicism is, which is an impression to an assent to an impulse action. And an impression is an alteration of the mind through which something seems to be present or to be the case. And having an impression, the mind registers some states of affairs prior to forming an opinion about it one way or another. And an assent is what converts thought into belief, also referred to as judgment or forming an opinion, and is defined in intentional terms as that it is the event in which one either accepts an impression as true or rejects it as false. And then there's an impulse, which is the tendency to action generated by the judgment or the assent that one has given to an impression. So if you figure out that breakdown, that's a lot of what Stoicism is understanding what you can do and what you have control over versus what you don't have control over and what you can't do. So once you learn how to control what you can control, you figured out a lot of what the Stoic philosophers have tried to portray, and that they just go into more details about more specific scenarios. But the premise is always there. So it's this general concept that goes through everything else. It's just how do you react in certain scenarios versus others.
You may follow Daily Stoic as well. That's
Classic.
yeah, their Instagram page is really good. They have like 1.4 million followers. And a lot of them, I'll be honest, if you follow one or two Stoic pages, you've basically seen them all, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But the quotable quotes are definitely reiterated. Reframe your mind, even through these quotes and pages like this Instagram Daily Stoic. That's a good one. Of course, Ryan Holiday, who wrote The Obstacle is the Way, is very great. It pretty much was one of the biggest turning point books for me when it came down to really turning my life around and stopping being just a lazy kind of idiot that played video games all day. Just framing it in your mind to the point where something that's in your way from accomplishing your goals, quote unquote, is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because most of the time it's revealed to you in a way where you can work towards it and overcome it. And when you get that, I guess, rhythm down in that sense of looking at things, everything just becomes much more satisfying and you will absolutely progress in life. It just is fully applied anywhere from diet to workouts to job or career advancements, all the way to relationships. It's truly just not becoming stressed out as your default to the point where your energy gets drained and you don't do anything about it ultimately. So reframes it for you. So you're like, hey, be thankful for this and proceed. And that's really what I felt too when I got my blood test done and found out my testosterone levels were low as shit. And the first day, it was basically so much research because I'm like, okay, I have to find out why. And then the next day, I was like, okay, I'm actually grateful that I found out why, because otherwise we'd have no idea what to do from here. And it's all part of that, and it can really help advance just progression overall in your mind. There's definitely probably a dopamine aspect because that drive to continue and progress is in a really good form that you can build yourself up and you get that reward, that dopamine spike from it in probably one of the best ways possible. versus just eating shitty foods or doing drugs or alcohol. So I think these general hormones kind of come into play for sure. The cortisol, the dopamine, which yields the masculine energy and the testosterone.
It's conscious, right? It's not a chemical effect happening within your body. It's just a change. So it can overlap, and there's a lot of things you can reach into, like exercise. It can overlap into your physical, the way you take care of your body, which also has a lot of health implications that can be good for your hormones. But when it comes to just what you do mentally, you can connect it to a lot of your pleasure sensing, like you said, and being able to delay gratification. I don't think it's as direct as it would be. More of your benefits would lead to improved health, hormone levels, and success, which all plays a part in how you're able to take care of yourself, how you're able to um, feel good, and how your body is reacting to the environment that you're in. Just practicing it, I mean, helps. When you think about the increase of cortisol when you get pissed off at somebody and how you're just hurting yourself versus just being okay with the things happening and not going into that fight or flight all the time when you're driving or when you're grocery shopping or if someone looks at you the wrong way. Like there's just so much anger and so many dudes, and it's just making them super weak.
Trying to project that they're strong, but internally they're weak as fuck, and
Right.
probably also physically in a way. Because, anyone out there that knows to fight will not be the one to pick a fight. Serotonin as well. I think with the stoic aspect where they kind of make you take account and take inventory of all things that you're grateful for in the moment is definitely a serotonin building activity and mindset shift. So it's really the basics when it comes to mental health, satisfaction, drive, and really just chilling the fuck out. So I think that's why so many people have really good results when they implement it into their lifestyle. And it's a good 1, 2, 3 punch for a lot of the shit that we can't get out of as easily. Like we're exposed to it so much. The fear in the news and all the reporting,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the dopamine with all the vices that we have, drugs, alcohol, even prescription drugs, all that shit. And yeah, of course, serotonin, where it's the consumerism, the hyper consumerism that's driving us away from being grateful for what we have. Social media plays into almost all of it. The stress aspect, the wanting something else that you don't have currently, the dopamine, it's all just magnified at this point.
Stoicism's readily available to anyone. That's the amazing thing about it too. It's not a certain thing you need to order or to show up to at an event. It's something that's available. And some people might not know about it as well if they don't have the access to the knowledge of it, but it's easy to practice it because you just practice it throughout your whole day and anything that arises. It's easier than getting the right food. It's just because it's there for everyone. And of course those things will help. You'll want to get those things, but being able to start somewhere is always important.